The crowd's laughter sliced through me like a blade, each chuckle a fresh wound. I stood frozen on the polished stage, the spotlight burning my skin as Ethan's voice boomed through the microphone. His words sharp and deliberate. I can't marry a beta who can't even stand up for himself. The gala, meant to celebrate our engagement, became my public execution, and I, Lucas Harper, was left bleeding in the wreckage of his betrayal. We'd met 2 years ago in Chicago's vibrant Andersonville neighborhood, where rainbow flags fluttered above quaint coffee shops and the air buzzed with acceptance. I was a graphic designer, quiet and introspective, content to let my art speak louder than my voice. Ethan Caldwell, a rising star in the city's tech scene, was everything I wasn't: bold, charismatic, an alpha in every sense. His confidence drew me in, a moth to a flame. And when he proposed 6 months ago under a canopy of fairy lights at Millennium Park, I thought I'd found my forever. But Ethan's world was a hierarchy, one where alphas ruled and betas like me were expected to follow. I'd always known he struggled with the dynamics of our relationship, the whispers from his elite circle questioning why he'd chosen someone lesser. I brushed it off, believing love could bridge any gap. That night at the gala, though, as he mocked my quiet nature and beta weakness in front of Chicago's elite, I realized love wasn't enough not for him. I fled the stage, my face hot with shame, the city skyline blurring through tears as I stumbled into the night. My phone buzzed relentlessly, texts from friends, pitying voicemails, even a half-hearted apology from Ethan. I ignored them all, retreating to my small apartment in Logan Square, where I curled up on my couch, surrounded by sketches I'd drawn of us. Each one felt like a lie now, the pencil lines mocking the future I'd imagined. Days turned into weeks, and I rebuilt my walls, piece by piece. I threw myself into work, designing logos for local queer-owned businesses, finding solace in the community that embraced me without judgment. Yet Ethan's absence left a hollow ache, a ghost that lingered in every quiet moment. I hated how much I still loved him, how my heart betrayed me with memories of his laugh, his touch, the way he'd whisper my name like a prayer. Then, 3 months after the gala, he showed up at my door. "Lucas, please," Ethan said, his voice raw, his usual polish gone. He stood in the hallway, hair disheveled, eyes red-rimmed. "I messed up. I need you." I wanted to slam the door, to scream at him for the pain he'd caused. But something in his expression, desperation, vulnerability, stopped me. He wasn't the untouchable alpha anymore. He was just Ethan, broken and begging. "What do you want, Ethan?" I asked, my voice steady despite the storm inside. He stepped closer, his hands trembling. "I'm in trouble, Lucas. Big trouble. And you're the only one who can help me." I should have turned him away. But love, that stubborn, reckless thing, pulled me back in. Ethan's story unraveled in my living room, the city's hum a distant backdrop. His tech startup, once the darling of investors, was crumbling. A rival company had hacked their servers, leaking sensitive data and pinning the blame on Ethan. His reputation was in tatters, his investors pulling out, and a lawsuit loomed that could bankrupt him. Worse, he'd discovered the hack was orchestrated by someone in his inner circle, someone he'd trusted. "I thought I could handle it," he said, pacing my small apartment. "But I can't. I need someone I can trust, someone who sees through the noise." "That's you, Lucas." It's always been you. His words stirred something in me. A flicker of the connection we'd once had. But trust. That was a currency I'd spent on him long ago. You humiliated me, I said, my voice low. You called me weak in front of everyone. Why should I help you now? He flinched, his eyes searching mine. I was wrong. I was scared. Lucas. Scared of what people thought. Scared of losing my place. I thought tearing you down would make me stronger. But it didn't. It broke me. I wanted to believe him. God. I wanted to. But the memory of that stage, those laughs, held me back. I need time, I said finally, my heart pounding. I'll think about it. He nodded, defeated, and left without another word. That night, I lay awake, torn between the man I'd loved and the betrayal I couldn't forget. Helping him meant risking my heart again. But refusing meant abandoning the part of me that still believed in us. The next morning, I met my best friend, Mia, at a cafe in Wicker Park. She'd been at the gala, had seen the wreckage Ethan left behind. Don't do it, Lucas, she warned, stirring her latte. He's using you. He always has. He's not like that, I said, but the words felt hollow. Was he? I'd always been the one to compromise, to bend to his world. Yet the Ethan I'd seen last night wasn't the polished alpha. He was scared, human, and in need of something only I could give. I spent the day digging into his company's hack, using my design skills to analyze patterns in the leaked data. It wasn't my expertise, but I'd always been good at seeing what others missed. By evening, I'd found Alita's subtle watermark in the leaked files, a signature of the hacker. It pointed to someone named Victor, a name Ethan had mentioned as a trusted advisor. I called Ethan, my pulse racing. I found something, I said. But if I'm doing this, we're doing it my way. No more games. He agreed, his voice thick with relief. Whatever it takes. Lucas. I'm in. We met at a quiet diner near Lake Michigan. The kind of place where the coffee was strong and the booths hid secrets. Ethan looked worse than before, his usual swagger replaced by a weary slump. I slid a tablet across the table, showing him the watermark I'd found. Victor, he whispered, his face paling. He's been with me since the start. People betray you when you least expect it, I said, the irony not lost on me. We need to confront him, but carefully. If he's behind this, he's dangerous. Ethan nodded, his hand brushing mine under the table. The touch sent a jolt through me, a reminder of what we'd been. I pulled away, focusing on the plan. We'd gather evidence, trace the watermark to its source, and expose Victor before he could do more damage. For the next week, we worked together, late nights in my apartment poring over code and emails. Ethan was different, quieter, more open, like the man I'd fallen for. He listened when I spoke, valued my ideas, and for the first time, I felt like his equal. But every touch, every shared glance, was a tightrope walk between hope and heartbreak. One night, as rain pounded the city, Ethan looked at me across the cluttered table. I don't deserve you, he said softly, but I'm trying to be better. For you. My throat tightened. I wanted to reach for him, to close the distance between us. But the gala's shadow loomed. Prove it, I said. Not with words. With actions. He nodded, and we went back to work, the air heavy with unspoken promises. By the end of the week, we had enough evidence to confront Victor. The watermark led to a private server he'd used to funnel data to the rival company. We set a trap, arranging a meeting where Ethan would confront him while I recorded everything from a distance. The night of the confrontation, my heart pounded as I watched from a shadowed corner of a downtown bar. Victor, all charm and sharp suits, denied everything at first. But Ethan pressed, his voice steady, laying out the evidence we'd gathered. Victor's facade cracked, his words turning venomous as he admitted to the betrayal, blaming Ethan's weakness for his own greed. I hit send on the recording, forwarding it to Ethan's legal team. Victor's reign was over. But as Ethan turned to me, his eyes bright with gratitude, I knew the real battle was just beginning for both of us. Victor's arrest made headlines, the tech world buzzing with the scandal. Ethan's company was saved, at least for now, but the victory felt hollow. I stood in my apartment, staring at the news on my phone, Ethan's name plastered across every article. He'd called me a dozen times since the confrontation, leaving voicemails that ranged from triumphant to pleading. I hadn't answered. Not yet. The truth was, I didn't know how to face him. Helping him had been about proving I wasn't the weak beta he'd painted me as. But every moment we'd spent together had chipped away at my resolve. His touch, his vulnerability, the way he looked at me like I was his anchor, it all pulled me back to the love I'd tried to bury. But love wasn't trust, and trust was a bridge we'd burned. Mia's words echoed in my mind. He's using you. I wanted to believe she was wrong, but doubt gnawed at me. Ethan had always been good at getting what he wanted. Was I just a means to an end? A tool to save his empire? Or was the man I'd seen these past weeks the one who listened? Who fought beside Muriel? I met Ethan at Grant Park, the place where he'd proposed. The air was crisp, the lake shimmering under a gray sky. He stood by the fountain, hands in his pockets, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. You didn't have to come, he said as I approached, his voice soft. I needed to hear you out, I replied, keeping my distance. But don't expect me to make this easy. He nodded, his eyes searching mine. I don't deserve easy. I hurt you, Lucas, and I'll carry that shame forever. But I'm here because I love you. Not because of what you did for me, but because of who you are. His words hit hard, stirring the embers of hope I'd tried to smother. But I wasn't ready to let him in. You love me now? I asked, my voice sharp. Where was that love when you were tearing me apart in front of your world? Ethan flinched, his jaw tightening. I was a coward. I thought being an alpha meant being untouchable, above everyone else. But I was wrong. You're stronger than I'll ever be. Lucas, you stood up to me, to Victor, to everything. I want to be worthy of that strength. I looked away, the lake's ripples blurring as tears pricked my eyes. You don't get to decide what I'm worth, Ethan. Not anymore. He stepped closer, his voice breaking. I know. But I'm asking for a chance to prove I've changed. Not for my company. Not for my image, for us. I wanted to believe him, but the scars were still raw. I need time, I said, echoing my words from weeks ago. And I need you to show me, not just tell me. He nodded, his eyes glistening. I'll wait. Lucas. As long as it takes. Over the next month, Ethan kept his word. He didn't push. Didn't demand. Instead, he showed up in small ways, bringing coffee to my studio, sending me articles about queer artists he thought I'd like, even volunteering at a local LGBTQ+ youth center I supported. Each gesture was a brick, slowly rebuilding the trust he'd shattered. But the world wasn't done with us. A new article surfaced, claiming Ethan's company was still unstable, and rumors swirled that he was only with me to salvage his image. The headline stung, but what hurt more was the doubt they planted. Was I a fool to let him back in? I confronted him at his office, a sleek glass tower overlooking the city. Is this true? I demanded, tossing my phone on his desk, the article glaring up at us. Ethan's face fell. No. Lucas. I swear. This is just noise. I'm with you because I love you, not because of some PR stunt. Then why does it feel like I'm always the one taking the risk? I snapped. I put my heart on the line for you, Ethan. Again. And now I'm wondering if I'm just your redemption story. He stood, rounding the desk to stand in front of me. You're not my redemption story. You're my reason. For everything. I'm fighting for us, Lucas. But I can't do it alone. His words hung between us, heavy with truth. I wanted to push him away, to protect myself from more pain. But I also saw the man who'd stood by me against Victor, who'd listened when I spoke, who'd shown up day after day to prove he was more than his mistakes. I don't know if I can trust you, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. But I want to try. He reached for my hand, and this time, I didn't pull away. His touch was warm, grounding, a promise of something new. We'll go slow, he said. Whatever you need. We started over, piece by piece. Dinners at quiet restaurants, walks along the lakefront, moments where we rebuilt what we'd lost. Ethan was different now, less alpha, more human. He listened when I spoke, valued my ideas, and for the first time, I felt like his partner, not his shadow. But the world wasn't kind to second chances. At a fundraiser for the youth center, whispers followed us. He's just using him, someone muttered. A beta can't hold an alpha like that. Ethan's hand tightened around mine. His jaw set, but he didn't lash out. Instead, he turned to me, his eyes steady. Let them talk, he said. They don't know us. For the first time, I believed him. We danced that night, the music drowning out the gossip, his arms around me a shield against the world. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Then came the letter. It arrived at my apartment, anonymous and typed. The words cold and cutting, leave him, or we'll ruin you both. My stomach dropped. I showed it to Ethan, expecting him to brush it off. But his face darkened. This is about the company, he said, his voice low. Someone's still after me. And now they're targeting you. Fear crept in, but so did resolve. I'd fought for Ethan once, and I wasn't backing down now. We'll face this together, I said, my voice firm. No more running. He looked at me, his eyes fierce with something deeper than love respect. Together, he agreed. We hired a private investigator, a gruff woman named Carla who'd seen her share of corporate vendettas. She traced the letter to a former board member, a man named Richard who'd been ousted after Victor's betrayal. He blamed Ethan for his downfall and saw our relationship as a weak point to exploit. Carla warned us he was dangerous, with connections that ran deep in Chicago's underbelly. "We need to be smart," she said. Her voice clipped. "He's not just after Ethan's company anymore. This is personal." Ethan and I spent sleepless nights strategizing, our bond growing stronger with every challenge. He was no longer the untouchable alpha, and I was no longer the quiet beta. We were a team, forged in fire, and I felt a pride I'd never known. But fear lingered. Richard's threats weren't empty. He'd already leaked lies to the press, and now he was escalating. One night, as we walked home from a late meeting with Carla, a car screeched past. Too close. Its windows tinted black. Ethan pulled me into an alley, his breath ragged. "That was him," he whispered. I recognized the plates. My heart raced, but I squeezed his hand. "We're not backing down," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "He doesn't get to win." Ethan looked at me, his eyes blazing. "I don't deserve you, Lucas. But I'll fight for you. For us." We kissed in that alley, the city's pulse around us. A moment of defiance against the fear. It wasn't just love, it was a promise to face whatever came next. Together. Carla's investigation paid off. She uncovered proof that Richard had hired a hacker to target Ethan's company again, this time with plans to frame me as the culprit. We took the evidence to the police, and Richard was arrested, his schemes unraveling in a flurry of headlines. Ethan's company stabilized, and the press, for once, focused on his resilience rather than his failures. But the real victory wasn't in the news. It was in us. Ethan and I stood on the rooftop of my building, the city sprawling below, its lights a tapestry of hope and struggle. He took my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my skin. "I was wrong about what strength is," he said, his voice soft but sure. "It's not about being the loudest or the most powerful. It's about showing up, even when you're scared. You taught me that, Lucas." I smiled, my heart full. "And you taught me I'm more than what anyone calls me. Beta. Alpha doesn't matter. What matters is us." He pulled me close, his lips brushing mine. And for the first time, I felt whole, not as a piece of his world, but as his equal, his partner. The city hummed below, a reminder that love, like life, was messy and hard-won, but worth every fight. Months later, we stood together at the youth center's annual gala, not as fiancés, but as something stronger, partners who'd face shame, betrayal, and fear, and come out on the other side. The crowd around us was different now, their whispers replaced by applause as we shared our story. Not the scandal, but the truth, that love could survive the worst mistakes. That strength wasn't about titles, but about standing together. Ethan raised a glass, his eyes locked on mine. "To Lucas," he said, his voice carrying over the room. "The strongest person I know." I blushed, but I didn't look away. I'd spent too long hiding, too long letting others define me. Now, I stood tall, not as a beta or an alpha, but as Lucas Harper loved, flawed, and unbreakable. As we danced under the soft glow of string lights, I realized the gala wasn't just a celebration. It was a promise of a future we'd build together, not in spite of our scars, but because of them. The world would always have its judgments, its threats, its hierarchies. But we had each other. And that was enough.